am the host and founder of the Total Woman Summit. We are knee deep, smack dab in the middle of our 11-day, 26 speakers, 22 sessions of our free virtual workshop series. We are so excited. We have rounded up the subject matter experts. We've told you, asked you about the topics that you want to discuss, and we are discussing everything. We're leaving no topic undiscussed and no stone unturned. So this morning, we had the pleasure of speaking to a veteran homeschooler or an experienced homeschooler versus someone who is forced to learning at home because of COVID. And they talked about the complexities and nuances and, quite frankly, the sheer nerve-wracking of having to teach your children at home, even from the veteran homeschooler perspective. She, too, expressed her frustrations, and we gave you some tips and tools on how you, as parents, can adjust to the learning at home environment if that's your new normal because of COVID, aka life interrupted, or for those of you that just needed to hear from another person's perspective about how they're navigating the homeschooling environment. So we will talk more about that and get the educator's perspective, but par for the course, if you're new to the Summit experience, the Total Woman Summit was created to empower women through education, connection, and community. In keeping with that, we are getting educated. So we hear from everyday people about their perspectives like we did this morning. And tonight we have the pleasure of having my good friend, Dr. Sherwanda Jones-Chism, who I call Nunu, because we went to high school together and been friends a long time. But she's going to talk to us about what we are doing and what parents really should expect from their children, particularly those parents that are new to learning at home and who are trying to juggle that, and what you can do to prepare for your children going back to school in the fall and answer all of those questions. So welcome, Dr. Chism. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm doing good, thank you. You look beautiful. We're so happy to have you. Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm so geeked up. I'm like a whole girl fan, so y'all just going to have to deal with it. I think Nunu is a rock star, and I'm going to call her Nunu, but you guys put some respect on her name and call her Dr. Chism because she worked for all of those initials and titles, so we're going to call her that. But so tell us a little bit about yourself, Nunu, and why you're passionate about education.
Okay, so I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I've been an educator for 22 years. I've taught in Legacy Shelby County, Mississippi schools, and now Shelby County schools. I'm an advocate, especially for underserved and underrepresented populations. I believe that a lot of times when you have seats at the table, it is your responsibility to speak for those who can't. So I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always learning. And again, I think my role now in this, I guess, the tail end of my career as being an educator is that to be an advocate, to be a voice for those who can't speak for themselves.
Wow. Well, we're so fortunate to have you in our system. I know for a fact that she's passionate about her learning since we were in junior high and high school together. We actually graduated together, and she has certainly made us proud as a class, and just as a woman, I'm proud of you and all the things that you do to help really create a space for our children to learn in a healthy environment. And I know that one of the things that you really do that are passionate about and really try to drive the needle about is really the inequity in our learning system and our environment. And so we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But first, we want to establish the rules of engagement, people. Number 1, 50, we're going to have some fun. Right, Nunu?
That's right.
We're going to have some fun. And then rules 51 through 100, listen, it's Wednesday night. It's hump day. You're talking to us. We're talking to you. This is not a lecture. So you can ask your questions real time. You can go ahead and drop them now in the Q&A. You can do that anonymously, or you can put your name on it. And if you're feeling particularly bold tonight, you can put them in the chat function. Live your life, do whatever you want. But we're talking to each other tonight. So let's talk about COVID-19, Dr. Chism, and how that's been disruptive to the entire system of learning for those who are in the traditional learning environment. Can you talk to us about what some of the changes have been, particularly because of the stay-at-home or safer-at-home orders?
So I want to say this. It's something I want to clear up. because I've seen all the memes on social media and everybody saying we're homeschoolers now. That's not really true. Because homeschoolers, they deliver a curriculum. And what we're doing at home is remote learning, or what we're calling distance learning. What we're doing is really giving our children the opportunity to do the work that is being sent home. So there's a big difference between homeschooling, because you're responsible for the curriculum, and that's not what's happening at home. What's happening at home is parents are being bombarded with work, and they are assigning their work or sitting down, having their children sit down to complete those assignments. So I wanted to make sure that we could clear that up, that what we're doing at home is not really truly homeschooling. It's a big difference when you are responsible for researching and finding curriculum for your children.
So let's go ahead and put that in the note. We have my good friend in my right hand, Shamel, who's navigating all of these nuggets and wisdom in the chat. So you guys don't have to do it. You can screenshot. But listen, let's get this straight. If your children now learning at home because of COVID-19, you are not a homeschooler. You are a parent who is putting together these assignments, trying to keep your children busy, trying to make sure they don't fall behind. Homeschoolers are veterans or experienced homeschoolers are creating curriculum or putting together curriculum for their children. So let's clear that up. All right? You're doing the best you can. We applaud you. If you're learning at home, you are not a homeschooler. Okay, go ahead, and then we need to clear that up.
I also wanted to say something that a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people say things about, well, I'm not going to make my child do this because they're not receiving grades for this. And that's true. It wouldn't be equitable if we assign grades, because the work that children are doing is not standardized. You have teachers who are coming in with their own assignments at some schools. You have some children who are receiving instruction through technology, and then you have some children who don't have that, and they're picking up packets. So what is happening, it wouldn't be equitable to give grades for children because it's not standardized. You can't give children A's if they're not, with the curriculum that our children have when they're in the buildings. That's a standardized curriculum. That is something that's set forth by the district, and everybody is to be learning the same thing. Well, what has happened now, a lot of what we're doing is review and not new. That's important. A lot of what is happening in homes, and that's why I say we have to be careful with saying that we're homeschooling our children, because what you're doing, or what you should be doing, is review and not new. We can't assign grades, letter grades, or assess children on things that we really don't have standardized. We don't really know what's going out because the district, and of course the district where I teach, we haven't said, okay, this is what you have to teach. And I also want to say this. I hear a lot of people saying that, oh, the children are missing out. They're going to miss out, and oh, they're going to lose. At this time of the year, let me tell you what happens after spring break. After spring break, we are blitzing and preparing for standardized tests. So before spring break, a great deal of standards have already been taught. A lot of it's been taught. So usually when our children come back from spring break, they have about 2 to 3 weeks before they begin standardized tests. And what we're doing in those 2 to 3 weeks is preparing them for the test. We're spiraling back to what we've taught during that first semester and that quarter before the spring break. So a lot of, I think, information that we have that's out there, and all of the fear, I think we can quiet it by just telling what really happens, what really goes on in school after spring break. Yeah.
Wow. So listen, you heard it here, and let me go ahead and do this disclaimer. Make sure you put this in the chat, Shamel. Dr. Chism is not here tonight representing the district.
Yes.
She is here giving her personal opinions. These are not the views of the district. She is not speaking on behalf of the district. So don't at her, and don't feel like you need to go back and tell what she said, okay? These are her personal views and opinions. So now, what she said was, for all of you that were nervous and holding your breath ever since they told you to pick up your pumpkins from school and take them home and shelter safe at home, they are not missing out, because all they're doing is reviewing. So your babies are now not going to be dumb or behind because they missed school. You're just reviewing. So exhale. How many of you was that, by show of hands, use the hand gadget at home? How many of you didn't know that? And that has now provided a certain amount of relief for you. You can use the raised hand feature at the bottom. Listen, we got a bunch of hands going up. We can just close this out right now. No, you already gave the people their life, okay? So now, having said that, tell us then a little bit about, you said that the work isn't being graded because it wouldn't be equitable because of the disparities and all the gaps. Everybody doesn't have the same technology. So what do the teachers expect for the parents to do with this work?
So I can speak both from a parent's perspective and a teacher's perspective. I think the purpose of us sending the assignments out is so that we can keep children engaged, because this is school and this is time that they would be in school, and also to be accountable because for some type of instruction. But I'm going to tell you what I'm doing as a parent. I'm a parent teacher, but I'm a parent before I'm a teacher. And I will say this, a lot of what's coming is just coming. And it's more than what they would be doing if they were on a campus. A lot of it is. But it's so that you can have the resources to choose from. And although some teachers are saying, you have to do this, you have to do this. But as a parent, I am saying to my children, this is what we're going to do. Because in a true 7-hour school day, the entire day is not just a sit and get. Children are doing more than sitting and getting in that 7 hours. So I think it's almost unreasonable to expect children to sit in front of a computer or to sit at a table for 7 hours to do some work because we're afraid that they're missing out. No. The school day, the children have support classes where they go. They have some type of recess. They have some type of lunch. The entire day is not a sit and get day. And I think it's unreasonable for us to feel that our children have to sit and get for 7 hours. We can't do that as adults,
I'll work with some of y'all. Listen. So she said this is not a sit and get. That's a noodleism. So make sure you sit and get. The children don't sit and get all day long. And it's unreasonable to think that they are going to sit still for 7 hours. We talked about that earlier. And I know you had a minute to join just for a portion of that this afternoon when we talked about homeschooling versus learning at home. And from the parent's perspective, that you are not even really working the whole 8 hours. If you work an 8-hour day, you don't even work the whole 8 hours. If you do, they got their money today, right? But when you think about the amount of time you spend maybe walking around, talking to colleagues and coworkers, you can dial that back. So it's unreasonable for the children. And then secondly, he also mentioned, they're giving you resources so you can pick and choose what your children are doing with that time. So if you get a stack this big, it doesn't mean that you have to force on your children to get you that stack. Let me tell you something that she's not going to say. This is strictly for me, a non-educator, a non-experienced educator whose child is an adult. So all my disclaimers. Listen. Some of these educators are doing y'all a favor because they know you working at home and you need a break from your children. That's why they gave you a stack this week, so you can get a break. All right, no. Now, we got you on that. So you got these 3 nuggets. So tell us a little bit about what this experience has been like for educators, because I know that this is something that you're particularly passionate about, and you said that you're a mom first. So that's how you're balancing that for your own sanity and for your own children. But what is this like for educators? Because I hear a lot of people saying educators are just on a break. They don't even care what these children are doing. They're tripping. They're out doing yoga or whatever. But people forget that they are also parents too. So that's something to consider. So they have children at home too. But by and large, what are you hearing from your colleagues about how they're feeling about not being with their students?
So my concern, and a lot of colleagues that I've had the opportunity to have conversations, I do want to say this, that we still are working. We are meeting virtually, sometimes more than we would have met had our feet been on the campus. I know every week I have at least 2 to 3 virtual meetings. So we are responsible. A lot of us have office hours. So a lot of us have to be available for our children during certain times of the day. But I would say that my concern right now, because I teach the intellectually gifted population, is the social and emotional well-being of my children. And I think a lot of us are concerned about that because a lot of us know that the only meals, or not the only meals, but a lot of the meals that our children receive, they receive them at school. They get breakfast, lunch, and in a lot of cases, snacks at school. Well, we're not doing that for them if they're not in our presence. That's the reason why you see all of the food bank lines. You're seeing them feeding the children. So we're concerned. I mean, we're concerned, and the majority of educators are concerned about the well-being of their children and what's going on at home. A lot of them, children, we're like little therapists to some of y'all fake. And they will tell us everything. And so teachers carry that. I know I do, because there are some children, and I'm just wondering, how are they managing being at home in that situation? There are teachers, even though we are supposed to be, I'm going to say physical distancing, because I don't like social distancing, because I think we need connections as a people. But there are some of us who are going to home. There are some of us who are reaching out in other ways. I would say that I had some children whose phones were disconnected. There are some of us who are spending our own money to mail out letters to these children or to mail things to these children because we have concerns about these kids. And yes, we are touching children at least once a week. I know that it is a requirement at my school that we touch the children, whether it's by Zoom. Well, we don't use Zoom anymore. We use another system. What is by text messaging? I'm using Google Duo because a lot of my children don't have computers, but they have phones. And so what I am doing is communicating with them some kind of way. So we're not chilling. We're not chilling. We're still responsible for teaching. When I say teaching, we're providing some type of resource so that the children can have some type of engagement. We are touching. We are connecting. So there's a lot of work going, and I would rather be in the building with my babies than to be connecting with them via phone. I would rather, because I'm a hugger. And I love my kids, and so majority of us do.
Mhm. And that really speaks volumes to hear you say that you all are also concerned about the children, because the babies tell you everything, right? They want to share with you what's going on at home, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And so you carry that with you. At least when you were seeing them daily during the week, you could at least check on them, make sure they were okay. Speak kind words, reaffirm them. And so you don't get that during this time.
Right.
So that's definitely a concern for you. And so thank you for going the extra mile and for being one of the educators that cares. We need that. And these are our leaders of tomorrow. So we appreciate that because they'll be running our country one day and making decisions for us. They certainly will. So let me ask this question. I know when we were talking to the mommies this morning, we talked about what do you do to make sure that the children are learning? And I know that both Shamel and Sethy, the homeschooler and the learning at home mother, talked about they are applying real life concepts to learning, like baking and teaching the children chores and teaching them. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you recommend, first of all, how you're getting creative with learning with your children already, and then how you would recommend people get creative with learning for their children, regardless of their grade level?
So children are always learning and growing. Learning does not just occur on a school campus. They're learning. And again, you remember I said earlier, I'm real concerned about children's social and emotional well-being. Right now, I think one of the greatest things that a parent could do for their child is love on them at this time. I think at this time, because people a lot of times don't realize that children are humans and they have emotions too. There are children who may not, watch the news, but they know something is different. They're not at school. So I think this is like an amazing time for parents to connect with their children, because if you think about a child's life, we have so much of their time is spent in a classroom. And honestly, sometimes I believe that parents may not really know our children because they spend so much time away, especially if you're a working mom and your children are in aftercare. The majority of their time is away. When you get home and you prepare food, they're going to bed. So I think this is an amazing time just to have conversations, to teach them how to talk, how to converse with an adult, because that's a lot that children don't know how to converse with adults, the way we were taught anyway. But I think it's a good time for just practical things. Because, again, children are learning and growing. They're watching us. They're watching how we're dealing with this. Another thing, cooking, let them cook. Let them measure. Let them apply. They learn measurement in school and math. Let them see that this is a real world practice. You know, there's so many things that we can be doing that we could use this time, to just model for our children how to be and, how to communicate and just love on them, show them that, I love you. Oh, you are great. Oh, I didn't know you knew how to do that, and allow them to teach you. It's one of the things I believe is children teach you how to teach them.
That's a noodleism. Children teach us how to teach them.
Mm-hmm. And another thing,
What does that mean?
Mm-hmm. And there was another thing that I've seen people talk about, the methods in which we teach math now is very different from the way that we've learned. Well, let me tell you, teach them the way you learn. At least they'd understand the concept. So by the time when they get back into the classroom and the teacher's showing them this new way, whatever math curriculum we're using, well, they will understand the concept. Show them how, when I was little, this is how we did it. And what is important is that they understand that concept.
It's important that they understand the concept so you don't have to worry about being Dr. Chism at home because you're not in a classroom and you are not someone who is a professional educator, as she is or as your child educator is. So it's important to, A, ask them how they want to learn. What works better for them? I know we talked this morning about being flexible, and we'll get into that, but really talk to your children about what's your learning style. Do you learn like if I show you better, or do you learn if I do it with you? Ask them what's the best way to learn. It's a beautiful time to get to know your baby better. But you said something that I really want us to spend a little bit of time on. You said allow your children. I was writing some good notes while you were talking. Practical things. Let them learn through practical things and real-world practices. And we'd like to give you some tips on how you could do that if you're teaching, if your children are in elementary or if they are junior high or high school, because we talked about that this morning. So what we'll do is she'll give us the tips, I'll give you a tip, and we'll go back. She'll have more tips than me because this is what she does. So you tell us a couple of tips for some children that may be in elementary, some practical and real-world practices.
Well, just being prepared, I guess scheduling as well. You know how when children don't really think about, okay, when I'm at school, I'm going at this time, I'm doing this time, I'm allotting this time for this amount of time, I'm allotting this amount of time for this amount of time. So at home, children have chores, or they have things that they're responsible for. Teaching them that you take care of your responsibility, because I tell my own personal children, you do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. That's a real-world application. Okay, this is what we have to do before you can do this. Because, again, the day should not be sit and get all day long. They're going to need some outlet. So because I know that my child, especially my little one, he needs an outlet, well, these are the things that you're going to have to do. These are the things that you have to not necessarily a checklist, but these are the things that you're responsible for clearing so you can do what you want to do. To me, that's letting them know in the world, in the real world, there are going to be things that you're going to have to do in order to do what you want to do. So I believe that that's something that can really be, taught during this time.
Yeah, and so that is so good. Teaching your children that you have to do what you have to do to get to do what you want to do. I know adults still trying to learn it. Can you tell the grown people, Nunu, please? They don't know. But she also said earlier, too, baking. Like teaching your children cooking. Like you don't even have to be a baker. You can tell them, you can write down a recipe for them. And if you're not a recipe follower, you guys can learn that together. You can, let me tell you something. Don't do is Google and YouTube. They got university, YouTube University, Google University. Google some recipes. You can split that into two different learning situations. You can have one child make the list. They can be responsible for researching whatever it is y'all want to make and what y'all decide y'all going to make. Then make another baby responsible. Then they go in the store and then they shop and they get it. And so that's teaching them, right, how to be in a real-world environment. And so if your children are younger, you can give them the list and walk behind them so they're in your eyesight because we want to practice safety and make sure we can see our babies. But if they're a little bit older, give them the list. Let them go in the store, do the shopping. And then you give them, if they don't have this, You can get that and price compare. And then when they're done shopping, tell them to call you. You can meet them in the store, and then you make sure that's teaching them counting, responsibility, all of that practical life skills and stuff like that. And then you get home, and then you let them stand there, do that math. How are they going to cook this food? If it's horrible, have a plan B. Eat cereal for dinner. It happens. I do stuff sometimes. Things go to the left. I don't know what happened. But it's real fun, and that's the way you all can stay engaged. I know you told me earlier, I had the pleasure of seeing you earlier, and you told me that you all teach your children banking. I'm a big believer in that. Can you talk to us a little bit more about how you can use just practical life with math and banking and other things?
So as a child, I watched my mother sit and balance her checkbook. So that was something I always wanted to pass on to my children, because you got to know where your money, you got to watch your money. So this is a good time. I know that I have a teenager in the house, and she likes Amazon. And so she has a checking account. Okay, if you're spending, how much do you have left? Keeping a ledger is something that is good that you can teach for your older children. Being aware of how much money you have, so you know how much you have to spend. You have to spend. And that's basic math. And that's something that they're going to need forever, because then they'll be in some trouble if they, balance that account. And I want her to understand, because soon she's going to be away from me, and you're going to be spending, and Mama won't be able to tell you, or I won't be in your ear saying, hey, did you balance your, not checkbook, but I'm still saying checkbook, but did you balance your account? Did you do that? So that's something that's good right now, because, as a senior in high school, Amazon is one of her friends, and she likes to shop, and she can't go to the stores, but you got to be cognizant of what you're spending. So that's a good thing. I think a really good practical thing that you could be working with your children with us right now.
And that's good. That's so good. And even if your babies are in elementary, that's good if your children are older. But if your babies are, you just adjust it a little bit, and then you can give them a little money, right? If they do their chores and they do the things that they're supposed to do, so they can do the things they want to do, you pay them, but pay them in lots of different currencies, right? So some change and mix some dollars, their babies, they don't know. So, and let them count that out and identify what the coins are, what the different dollar amounts are. And that's math for them, and it's math that matters. So we talk about the coins, okay? So teach them that, and that's, make life easy for you too, and teach them stuff like that. One of the other things we said this morning for your older children is allow them to, you said teach them how to talk to adults. Here's one way you can do that we talked about this morning, is let your older children, they could be 13 on up, right? Even 12. We got some really savvy 12-year-olds. Let them call and do price comparisons on your cable bill, right? Let them sit on hold. Let them call. You tell them what you need. You still be in, within earshot, so you can hear and guide them through the conversation. But let them have that conversation and do price comparison. And then you guys sit down and talk about what plan makes the most sense for the family's needs. And then they'll understand when they hear those numbers. And then you're marrying all of these lessons together, right, and connecting the dots. So get really creative with it. I love the fact, Nuna, that you talked about the real world practices. And I will tell you, it's a good time. A lot is happening in our economic, economy and politics. So this is a great time to develop critical thinking skills. Because I can tell you from a corporate perspective, one of the huge gaps right now for talent is that they don't have critical thinking skills. As an educator, can you share with the parents how they can really help their children develop some critical thinking skills?
So if an issue, it can be something minute, something in the household issue. I can't think of an issue right now, but one of the things that I teach, because I teach to get the kids, is we teach critical thinking. And so I always tell kids to look at a situation, think about it, brainstorm for ways that we can solve it. Say, for instance, your children are arguing over something. Okay, what is the issue at hand? What is this child's perspective? Look at this. What is this person's perspective? Look at both perspectives. Okay, so what assumptions are we both making? Okay, what's the result of the assumptions that we're making? What are the implications because we have done this? So let's look at this person's perspective. Let's look at this perspective, because if you have multiple children in the home, there's bound to be some type of disagreement. So one of the things that we can do is look at multiple perspectives in our home. You know, a lot of people don't think about that, but think about the multiple perspectives in your home. How does this person feel? Oh, they're acting this way because this is how they are feeling, or this is what they are assuming. So the implications of their assumptions is what's driving their behavior. So that's something that I would encourage us to do, because we don't get a lot of perspective thinking. We are pretty a me society. But in our homes, we can teach our children to reason about situations by looking at the different perspectives that are in our homes. So I think that's something we can also do. Mm-hmm.
That is so good. And so here's, I can give you two, because I'm sure this is coming up all the time. What are we going to watch on TV, and what's for dinner? What are we eating for dinner? And so whether we're going out for dinner or whether mommy and daddy are cooking dinner. And so you can have them start making sound arguments, because that's the thing. Critical thinking is all about, like Dr. Chism said, looking at things from a lot of different perspectives, really saying, validating those, qualifying those thoughts, qualifying what's fact, what's fiction, making a solid judgment and argument, and then you and whoever your partner is, or if you're a single parent, you make the decision based off who's able to make the best argument. That is critical thinking. That's critical thinking. And they need that. Please develop that muscle in your children, because I don't care if they are soaring academically. If they can't think critically, they are going to fail miserably out in the real world. So they got to be able to do that. Another thing that you can do is, politics is happening right now. And you can have them discuss, I don't care how old they are, you can discuss it at their level about, so some people need to go to work, and some people have the luxury of staying at home. If we don't go back to work, then the economy, messed up. Then we got people who can work at home, they don't really care, and people own a business. You can ask them all to take a different position, or ask them what's your opinion on this and why do you feel that way. You're caring for them emotionally, sort of in a back doorway, because you can see what they think about all of this. But then also it's helping them consider other people, teaching compassion and critical thinking. What are your thoughts on that, Dr.
And I think that's important, because children don't know how to communicate. That's teaching communication as well. Them being able to know that, different perspectives, again, different ideals, teaching them how to respect other people's thoughts and other people's, and to look at things in multiple ways, because I'm at home. I'm at home because I'm an educator, but my husband has to go to work. Just teaching them to communicate about those things. And I think one of the things that I call my classroom a talking classroom, because I allow children to talk as long as you're being respectful. I call it an introspective classroom, because I want you to examine your thoughts and your feelings, and then we're going to judge our own our thoughts and our feelings. But one of the things that I found, especially in certain communities, our children are not communicators. They don't know how to communicate how they're feeling. They don't know, and if someone doesn't feel the same, when you think about politics and everything, then there's something wrong with them. So they've got to understand how to communicate with people who have different mindsets, who have different belief systems. So being at home is a good time right now to just have those types of conversations with your children and ask them their thoughts. Ask children how they think. Children have thoughts, they have feelings, and they have emotions as well. So ask them, and then that gives them the opportunity to know, hey, I do have a voice. So I think being at home right now is a good time to help them, hear their voice and learn how to communicate.
Right, and take up space in the world. You have to get your children comfortable with using their voice and knowing that what they say matters. In the first place, they get that is at home. Thank you for reminding us of that, because it's so easy to get busy and they're little people. They're little people. They're children. They're just little people. And so they have thoughts and opinions and emotions, but she keeps saying, because she says that she is very concerned about the emotional well-being of her children, the social and emotional well-being of her children. So I want to make sure that we ask this question, because everybody wants to know this, Dr. Chism, and then we'll come back and ask some of the other questions that are in the chat. What should parents expect when their children go back to school in the fall?
So let me tell you, teachers are professionals. And, this is not the summertime, because, in the summertime, there's not much school-type learning going on. But we always deal with some type of slide, or what they call summer slide, when children come back. Kids have to get back into the habit of learning and routines and all that kind of stuff. But in the fall, because teachers are they're professionals, they will know what to do to get your child to where they're supposed to be. Another thing that a lot of people say they're going to be behind, well, all of us going to be the same, because we're all no one is ahead. Again, what I said earlier is that what is being sent home is reviewed and not new. So we'll all be starting at similar places. And again, teachers are professionals, and they will know where to start and where to bring those children up to where they're supposed to be. I mean, they've been taught how to teach. So I think a lot of worry that we have that are surrounding if my child's going to be behind, we can kind of dismiss that. I want to, if you give me, if I can, I want to say that what we should be doing right now is teaching our children how to manage their anxiety, how to manage their emotions. One of my concerns is the children's social and emotional well-being right now. And it is my hope that the different practices that we've done in my classroom, that they're using them now. Because one of the things that I like to use is different mindfulness techniques. Just teaching them how to be okay, or teaching them to breathe, because some anxiety is normal. I think it's when you operate from that anxiety is when things kind of get a little shaky. But teaching them, letting them see how you deal with things, because, the children, if they see you worried about what's going to happen, then they're going to be worried about what's going to happen. So, again, I think that we shouldn't be as concerned about that. I don't think that's the greatest concern right now. I don't think the academics should be the greatest concern right now. I think knowing that you're loved, knowing that you are safe, like Maslow's, Maslow's hierarchy of thinking. Before we can do what we call Bloom's taxonomy, teach them to think critically, children need to know that they're safe, that they belong, and that they're loved, because normalcy has been interrupted for them as well. So I think our concern shouldn't be about academics, whether or not they're going to be prepared for the next grade. They're going to be all right, because teachers are professionals, and teachers know how to pick up. We know how to pick up where we left off. And so the concern at this time, just let those babies know that they're loved, and that their needs are going to be met, and that if I can't meet them as a parent, there's plenty of services out there right now. This city has come together. I know across this country, the world has come together to make sure that those that have needs, greater needs, we're meeting those needs. And at this point, I think that's the most important thing, letting them know that they're loved, that they belong, and that the physiological needs are going to be met.
That is so important. I love that she keeps saying that. They are professionals. They're educators. So whether you are a super high-strung parent, and we hope that you stop that after tonight, and you're making your children do a stack of work like this every day, stop it. Or whether or not it's a child that's disadvantaged, they are going to fix that when they get back to the classroom. And your child is not going to be at a disadvantage because you had all the technology and they're in the classroom with someone that didn't. Teachers know how to account for that. They know how to adjust and pivot for that, and they will make sure that your child gets what they need. That's what I hear Dr. Chism saying. What's really important is that you care for your children's social and emotional well-being. And one of the things that I shared this morning was this story, because I'm a storyteller, and I like to really put humanity into the talks like Dr. Chism is doing. And so one of my good friends who's an SVP at a bank, and her husband is an IT director, and she has 3 boys, so they're all under 12, and now they're all under like 10. They're all under 10, and they are in different grades. And so she said to me, everybody's in a separate room on a device. My husband and I are working. The children are all doing their different assignments. And she was like, it is overwhelming because, like, I got to run in there and see if they're doing what they're doing. Then I'm trying to cook dinner. And she said her son came in the kitchen, and he was supposed to be working on an assignment. And she told him, stop all that singing and dancing and get in there and do your work. And she said he stopped and looked at her and said, but we always sing and dance in the kitchen. The point was, you have to remember, home is home. It's not school. And you can't turn it into some sort of Army boot camp either. The children are at home. So there's got to be balance. You want to be mindful of that while you're attempting to create structure, and you certainly want to have accountability, don't change your home environment into this place, into a performance treadmill, and get off of it yourself. So give the baby some grace, and take a step back and give yourself some grace too. Because we talked a lot about flexibility this morning. And the fact that Shamel shared with us that she just has to decide. And so said that she was like, listen, if they sleep late, they just sleep late. I mean, it's a reason why some people take second shift jobs and overnight shifts, if that's their preference, because they are not morning people. So if you can allow your children to sleep late, that may be the only quiet time you get. Let them sleep late so you can get some sleep. Okay. But talk to us about why flexibility right now is important, Dr. Chism.
So I think one of the things that we have to do is resist the pressure to be perfect. Put
that in the chat, Chanel. Resist the pressure to be perfect. That's a new Go on.
Yeah, because I think in this whole thing, we've never been here before. Not in our lifetime. So there's no right or wrong way to do this. And so I hear the theme coming up in your talk, grace. Give yourself some grace. Give these babies some grace. Give the teachers some grace. We just all need to be gracious. Because there's so much uncertainty. Resist that. As you said, at this point in time, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to be very transparent, my children don't get up until 10 a.m. And guess what? I'm okay with it. Because that's my time that I have, because I believe in first fruit time, and that's my time that I have to get myself together, practice mindfulness with myself, spend some time with the Father so that I can be who I need to be for me, so I can be who I need to be for them. I am not competing. And what I have seen, even amongst educators, is who has the best setup for their Google Classroom or for their Zoom classroom. What really matters? What really matters? Resist it. We never been here before, and you gauge against yourself. You measure against yourself. Am I doing what I need to do?
Yourself. I love that.
Yeah.
Gauge against yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
We can't, perfection. I listened to a podcast that you shared about being a perfectionist.
Perfection is the enemy on the Just Be Real Sis podcast with my good friend Candace Morgan and Dr. Angela Anderson. Yes, the guise of perfection, people. It is deceptive. And it's usually a performance treadmill. And I love what you said. Give yourself some grace. So let me go ahead and tell you, parents, this. I will say this for you. I am a parent. Young children can get on your nerves. Nobody's used to being together this much time. You guys get away from each other. They go to school, you go to work, or you work from home, or you are a homemaker. You and your spouse get time away from one another. Now, all of this togetherness, nobody was built for all of this togetherness. It's too much. It is okay for you to admit that the babies that came out of your womb that you love are getting on your nerves. You have had enough of them. So take a walk. Shamel said earlier, sometimes you just go in the closet. She like, oh, child. I got a friend who goes to Shelby Farms every day and lays out in the grass with her laptop and does her work because she needs a break from the family she loves because you need time. None of us were born as multiple people, even if you got multiple personalities. You should have been listening last week. But this week we're talking about even if you were born, as a multiple, then you were still born as an individual person. So you need time to be what I call one with myself. So don't feel guilty and feel like you are less than a mother or a father or a guardian because the children or child that you love is getting on your nerves. It's okay.
Okay.
Just be honest with yourself and say that and say, I need a minute. And guess what? You're probably getting on their nerves, too, because they get a break from you, too. So here's something also that I remember that Shamel shared on a podcast that she did, too, some time ago. She said that she realized that she was, fussing too much at her children. But it was because of all of those things, and it was abnormal for her to be fussing at them a lot. So, again, if tensions have increased, you're under pressure. None of us are used to spending this much time in front of a device, talking on the phone, doing business over. Everything is over the phone. We're not breaking up the monotony. It's not go to work, go to a meeting, go over here to a meeting. Just sit here and be in a meeting and look at people all day, and we're sick of it. sick of it, as I hear people say, I'm sick of it. So it's okay. Give yourself some grace. Be flexible. She mentioned that she's also a wife and she's a person of faith. She likes to spend time with the Creator. She wants to spend time with Him. She wants to be one with Him. She wants to have some time with her husband. Let the children do what they do. Do what you do. Gauge yourself against yourself. And it's okay to change the game plan every day.
Yeah, it is. It is. There's no rule book. There is no rule book. We've never been here before. I can't stress that enough. Nobody knew how we were going to teach in a pandemic. There was no, there's nowhere, there's no class. I bet you now, in teacher prep program, they're going to add a new piece to it. But there's never been a pandemic in our lifetimes, and, in our lifetime that we've lived in. So we're just doing this. We're doing it. And I think we're doing well. To never have been here, So
absolutely, we're doing well. We are doing okay. And as I ask her my final question, you have a final question, but go ahead and put it in this Q&A or in the chat before we lose all of this great wisdom and expertise for the night. But how are you practicing self-care for yourself during this time? You mentioned you are also dueling as a parent who's having to make sure your children are doing or, doing their reviews or learning in practical real-world ways. But you're also an educator. And so how are you taking care of you? What kind of self-care?
So, again, in the morning time, that's my time. To me, I just believe in rising early when I'm fresh. And so what I have done is I have discovered that I love podcasts. And so, yes,
I got some good ones. What are some of your favorite ones?
So I just discovered this couple is called 30 Minutes with the Perrys.
Wait a minute, 30 minutes of what? 30 minutes?
30 Minutes with the Perrys. It's with Jackie Hill Perry. She was here. Yes. So I've been listening to them and just getting caught up on all of their podcasts. Also, I listen to Crystal Evans-Hurst. She's really good. Lisa Turkhurst. I've just been listening to podcasts and I'm like, oh my goodness, and self-examining, because a lot of times that's when you see yourself and like, oh God, that is me, me. So I've been taking that time to just listen to doing things I wanted to do before that I could not do. So that's my new favorite pastime, and it just gives me a time, and I'm listening. I'm not watching. I'm not being distracted by anything in front of me, so everything's going to my ears, and that's been something that has been just a total blessing to my life. And I'm a reader, an avid reader. So books that they're suggesting, I am purchasing. But that's what I'm doing. I'm having some time to do something that I, never got the chance to do. Did not know I like podcasts. But that's something I'm doing for myself, because, different people have entertained different ways, but I found that is something that I really enjoy. And so my husband leaves in the morning at 7:30, and my children are asleep sometimes after 10 or 11 until I finish my podcast. And that's what I'm doing for me,
That is so good. Find a new passion. Be good to you. Be good to you. Let your children, give them a break, and you find you a new hobby or discover something you love. Get you some coloring books. I never knew how therapeutic coloring was until I was babysitting my nieces who are way past coloring age now. But when I would take them to restaurants and they give them the menu with the crayons, I was like, I'm going to need an extra one for myself. But they have these really fancy coloring books, but just learn something new. Take on a new hobby, because you have to care for yourself. We are big believers at the Total Woman Summit that self-care is not, you shouldn't feel guilty for it, and it's a priority. You cannot pour from an empty cup, nor should you be trying. And so Dr. Chism loves education. She's always talking about it, always advocating, and if you want to ask her questions, you can do that on Twitter. She uses Twitter to answer those questions and to give great advice. So follow her so you can get that good wisdom if you're someone that is on Twitter, and we have put her information in the Zoom for you to see it. Make sure you go follow her. We want to make sure that we're following her. Make sure you're giving her your feedback. And also, I want to make sure that you all know that she is she said the tail end of her career. Like, come on. She looks like she's 12, but I know how old she is though, because we like the same age, we graduated together. But what I will tell you is she has a depth of wisdom, and her career will go on for years. In whatever way she chooses to diversify and continue to rise the ranks, or she decides she may become a podcaster. We don't know.
You know, that's something I'm totally interested in. I've been researching the equipment. I'm telling y'all, I'm getting my life during this pandemic, and I have been researching equipment, the type of microphone I need, and the camera, and all of that stuff. I'm like, I can do this.
Yes, you can, and I would tune into you, and I would listen to it. I think it would be amazing. But we are so grateful for you spending some of your time with us, Dr. Chism, giving us the gift of knowledge and wisdom that is you, sharing your experience with us and helping us feel a little bit better about where our children are right now, and helping us be prepared for what they can expect when they go back to school in the fall. And so hopefully to take the weight off the shoulders of some of you parents. And we just want to say you're doing a good job. You're doing okay. And then just for your children, as Dr. Chism has said, don't make it about the academics. Make sure you're caring for your babies. Make sure you know that they're loved, because one of the things that we do want to make sure that you know that their whole life has changed. They're not seeing their friends. They're not going to birthday parties. Their whole social setup has changed. And that's, if you feel like you're at home tripping as a parent, as an adult, because you can't go see your friends, you can go to your favorite stores. Think about what this must feel like for them.
So because a great deal of the school day, a great deal of the school day is socialization. You think about it. I mean, we teach children how to work cooperatively, how to work collectively. They're with their same age peers. They're they're communing. They're having conversations with people that are not a part of their families. And so I think that's something that we've forgotten about. That life has been interrupted for them. And a great part of their day is socializing, and that's how we learn a lot, is via socialization and, piggybacking off of our peers. And so that's missing. That's a missing piece for children.
Yeah. It's a missing piece for children. So we just want to remind you of that. And if you found yourself in any of this conversation, listen, don't beat yourself up. If there are some opportunities for you, they're just opportunities. Use this new information to do things a new way. And have some fun with your babies at home. Have some fun. Give them some opportunities to be themselves. Embrace the authenticity of who they are. Teach them how to use their voice, which is some good wisdom from Dr. Chism, and we're just so grateful for that. And tell the teachers that you appreciate them too. Make sure you tell them that they matter, and remember that they're not stealing. They are concerned about, that's a small majority of them, but they are concerned about their babies. I'll tell you a fun story that I heard. It was a joke. Let me tell you something. One of my friends posted, she was like, I don't know why my teachers, what did she say? She said, I don't know why these teachers got us watching their children.
Yeah.
I was like, I think they're yours, though. But that was so funny to me. But she said that because her children's teachers are fortunate enough to have teachers that really do feel like family, because the teachers treat the babies like you said, like they're part of their family, and they have their own little family at school. But I just want to say thank you all so much for joining us. As soon as this meeting is over, you're going to get a pop-up screen with a survey, and we hope that you'll fill that survey out. And make sure that you give us your feedback. If you're not following me and the Total Woman Summit on Instagram, please do so. If you're interested in hearing these playbacks and recaps, you want to be following us and be a part of the Summit Inner Circle. You can sign up at thetotalwomansummit.com on my website, and you can also learn more by following us at the Total Woman Summit on Instagram and Sherica Hymes. And because I am a do-gooder and believe in giving back, we have a campaign right now. I sit on the board for the Women United for United Way, and we have a campaign for those that are on the front line at the Salvation Army, it is our 20 for 20 campaign. You can get 20 masks for $20, and they will go to the workers and frontline workers, essential workers at the Salvation Army. So as they continue to serve our communities, they can keep themselves and their families safe. So I need each one of you to use this information to do the 20 for 20. And you can also go to Health Gear Now to order your own mask for your family so you can stay safe now that we are in phase one of sort of reopening back up of the world, if you will. But if you'll do that for me, I will be forever grateful. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you, Dr. Chism, for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Well, you guys, you have a lovely evening. We'll see you tomorrow. We're talking relationships. So you want to join us tomorrow. We have so much fun in store for you. So sign up for that if you haven't done so already. We'll see you later. Have a great night.